My roommate stole from me and I don't know what to do. I, 28M, have been best friends with Jake, 29M, for over 10 years. We met in high school and have been through everything together: college, breakups, job changes, you name it. Jake has always been like a brother to me, so when I found myself in a tough spot financially and needed a place to stay, he was the first person I turned to. Jake didn't hesitate to offer me his spare room. I was incredibly grateful and moved in with him about 3 months ago. Things were going great, at least. That's what I thought. We got along well, and it felt like old times, just like when we used to hang out every weekend. But then, something strange happened. About a month ago, Jake came home in a panic, saying the apartment had been broken into. He was freaking out, saying that his laptop, some expensive jewelry, and a few other valuables were missing. I was shocked and immediately started helping him look around to see what else might be gone. I quickly realized that some of my stuff was missing too: my camera, a watch my late grandfather gave me, and a few other things that had a lot of sentimental value. We called the police, and they came over to file a report. Jake seemed genuinely upset, and I was too focused on the loss to really think much beyond that. I didn't have renter's insurance, so I figured the stuff was just gone for good. The police said they'd investigate, but I wasn't holding my breath. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and I started noticing some weird things. Jake's behavior changed. He was suddenly more secretive, spending more time out of the apartment, and acting cagey when I asked him about anything. He also started flaunting new stuff: a new phone, designer clothes, and even a watch that looked eerily similar to mine. One night, I came home early from work and Jake wasn't expecting me. I walked in on him in his room, holding my camera. He froze when he saw me and I immediately knew something was up. I asked him what the hell he was doing with my camera, and he stumbled over his words, saying he found it in a pawn shop and was going to surprise me by buying it back. That was the moment everything clicked. I started connecting the dots: the robbery, his sudden influx of money and new stuff, and now my camera in his hands. It became clear that Jake had staged the whole thing. I confronted him right then and there, and after a lot of yelling, he finally admitted that he had faked the robbery and sold our stuff for quick cash. I was furious, but more than that, I was heartbroken. This was my best friend, someone I trusted more than anyone else in the world. I felt completely betrayed. I packed up my remaining belongings and left that night. I'm staying with a coworker for now, trying to figure out my next steps. I don't know what to do. I feel like I've lost more than just my possessions. I've lost my closest friend. Should I report him to the police, or should I just cut my losses and move on? Part of me wants to see him face consequences, but another part of me can't believe that the person I considered family would do something like this. I'm at a loss. Comments. The first person says, "I'm so sorry this happened to you. It's one thing to lose your stuff, but it's a whole different kind of pain when the person who betrays you is someone you trusted like a brother. I know it's hard, but you absolutely should report him to the police. What he did isn't just a mistake, it's a serious crime. He needs to face the consequences, not just for your sake, but to prevent him from doing this to someone else. I can't imagine how hard this must be for you, but you deserve justice, and he deserves to be held accountable." Here's another opinion from the comments. "This is such a heartbreaking situation. It's tough because you're not just dealing with the loss of material things, you're dealing with the betrayal of someone you considered family. I get why you'd hesitate to involve the police, but honestly, he doesn't deserve your protection after what he did. If you don't report him, he might think he can get away with it again, either to you or to someone else. It's going to be hard, but reporting him might be the closure you need to move on from this." Let's hear one more. "I can't believe someone would do that to a friend of 10 years. That's next level betrayal. I understand the emotional turmoil you're going through, but you have to look out for yourself now. This person isn't your friend anymore. There's someone who took advantage of your trust. Reporting him might be the only way to really move forward and get some justice. You didn't deserve this, and he needs to face the consequences of his actions. Stay strong, and remember that this isn't your fault." Update 4 months later. I wish I could say things got better, but life has a way of throwing you curveballs when you least expect it. After I moved out, I tried my best to put the whole situation behind me. I found a new place to live, started focusing more on work, and even started therapy to help me process everything. I thought I was making progress, but then something happened that dragged me right back into the mess. A couple of weeks ago, I was out with some friends at a local bar. We were having a good time, and I was actually starting to feel like things were getting back to normal. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw him, Jake. He was sitting at a table across the room with a group of people, laughing like he didn't have a care in the world. Seeing him made my blood boil, and all the anger and betrayal I had been trying to bury came rushing back. I tried to ignore him, but he saw me too. The moment our eyes met, I could see his expression change. He looked guilty, but then his face hardened, like he was daring me to do something about it. I don't know what came over me, but before I knew it, I was walking over to his table. My friends tried to stop me, but I couldn't let it go. I needed to confront him. I asked him if he had anything to say for himself, and he just smirked and said, "What's done is done, man. Move on." That was it. I lost it. I don't even remember what I said, but it turned into a shouting match, and then he shoved me. It all happened so fast. One minute we were yelling, and the next we were throwing punches. It was a full-on brawl right there in the middle of the bar. People were trying to pull us apart, but neither of us would back down. Eventually, the bouncers got involved and broke it up, but not before we both landed some pretty heavy blows. The cops were called, and we were both hauled off to the station. I was in shock. How had it come to this? I never imagined I'd be getting into a fistfight with my best friend of 10 years. At the station, things went from bad to worse. They pressed charges against both of us, Jake for assault and me for disturbing the peace. We spent the night in separate holding cells, and I had a lot of time to think. I couldn't believe how far we'd fallen. This was the guy I used to share everything with, and now we were both sitting in jail because we couldn't control our anger. Update 5 months later. I never thought things could get worse after the fight with Jake, but life has a way of throwing you curveballs just when you think you've hit rock bottom. This past month, I found out something that completely shattered whatever was left of my trust in people. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but here it is. After the fight, I decided to focus on healing and moving forward. Therapy was helping, and I was trying to put the whole nightmare with Jake behind me. I had started dating someone new, Emily, about 6 months ago, and she had been a real source of comfort through all of this. She was supportive, understanding, and seemed like the perfect person to help me rebuild my life after everything that had happened. Emily was there for me during the worst time. She listened when I needed to vent, helped me pick up the pieces after the fight, and even came with me to therapy a few times. She always knew exactly what to say to make me feel better, and I was beginning to think that maybe, just maybe, I could move on and start fresh with her her by my side. But then, about a month ago, I started noticing small things that didn't add up. She'd get defensive when I asked her simple questions about her day, and I noticed she was texting a lot more than usual, often hiding her phone screen when I walked by. I chalked it up to paranoia after everything with Jake. It wouldn't be surprising if I had trust issues. I tried to ignore it, but something in the back of my mind wouldn't let it go. The real bomb dropped when I received an anonymous message on social media. The person claimed they had information about the robbery that happened at Jake's apartment and told me to meet them in person if I wanted the full story. At first, I thought it was a prank, but my curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to meet them at a public place, figuring it couldn't hurt to at least hear them out. When I arrived, a woman approached me, someone I'd never seen before. She introduced herself as Jake's ex-girlfriend, Samantha. She looked nervous, almost guilty, as she sat down and started talking. She told me she had been keeping quiet for a long time but couldn't live the guilt anymore. What she revealed next turned my world upside down. According to Samantha, Jake hadn't staged the robbery alone. He had help, and that help came from Emily, my current girlfriend. Apparently, Jake and Emily had been seeing each other behind my back, even before I moved in with Jake. They concocted a plan to rob both of us and split the money, knowing I was vulnerable and wouldn't suspect a thing. The whole time I was staying with Jake, thinking I was safe, they were plotting to rip me off. Samantha said she found out about the plan when she was still with Jake but didn't say anything because she was afraid of him. But after seeing the fallout, the fight, the jail time, she couldn't keep it to herself anymore. She told me that Jake and Emily had sold everything and split the cash, and that Emily had been lying to me this entire time, pretending to be my support while secretly laughing behind my back. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. I thanked Samantha for telling me and rushed home, my mind racing. I confronted Emily as soon as I walked through the door. She denied it at first, but I could see the panic in her eyes. When I told her I knew everything, her whole demeanor changed. She broke down and confessed that it was true. She admitted to helping Jake stage the robbery and splitting the money with him. I was numb. I couldn't even process what she was saying. This was someone I thought I could trust, someone who had been with me through all of this, and she had been lying the whole time. I asked her why, and all she could say was that she got caught up in Jake's charm and thought it would be an easy way to make some quick cash. She didn't even try to apologize or make excuses. She just stood there, looking defeated. I told her to get out. I couldn't stand to look at her anymore. She packed her things and left that night, and I haven't heard from her since. I'm left here, trying to make sense of it all. I thought I had finally moved on from the betrayal with Jake, only to find out that the person I was trying to build a new life with was in on it from the start. I've been going through a roller coaster of emotions, anger, sadness, disbelief. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted her after everything that happened? It feels like my whole life has been one big lie, and I don't know who to trust anymore. I've decided to go to the police with this new information. I don't know what will come of it, but I can't let Jake and Emily get away with this. They've already taken so much from me, my belongings, my trust, my sense of security. I can't let them take anything else. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on healing. I've cut off all contact with anyone connected to Jake or Emily, and I'm leaning heavily on my therapist to help me process everything. It's going to take a long time to rebuild my life after this, but I know I have to keep moving forward. I refuse to let them break me. Thank you to everyone who has been following my story and offering support. It means more than you know. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm determined to come out of this stronger and wiser. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can't let the actions of others define your worth. I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm going to come out on the other side of this. The first commenter says, "My heart goes out to you. I can't imagine how devastating it must be to find out that not just one, but two people you trusted completely betrayed you like this. It's hard enough to deal with a breakup, but to realize that your girlfriend was involved in something so vile is just another level of hurt. You're doing the right thing by going to the police, and I hope they face the consequences for what they've done. Stay strong, you're handling this better than most people would, and you deserve to find peace after everything you've been through." Here's another perspective from the comments. "This is beyond messed up. You've been through so much already, and to find out that Emily was in on it from the start is just ... unbelievable. I'm glad you're cutting ties with everyone involved and focusing on yourself. You're absolutely right not to let them break you. It might not feel like it now, but you're going to come out of this stronger than ever. Surround yourself with people who genuinely care about you and keep pushing forward. Justice will come, and you'll be in a much better place without those toxic people in your life." Finally, another commenter adds, "Wow, this is like something out of a nightmare. I'm so sorry you're going through this, but I want to commend you for how you're handling it. It takes real strength to keep moving forward after such a massive betrayal. Going to the police is the right move. These people need to be held accountable for their actions. It's clear that you're a good person who got caught up in a terrible situation, but you're not letting it define you. Take it one day at a time, and remember that there are better days ahead." You've got this update 1 year later. It's been a year since my life was turned upside down, and I wanted to share how things have finally started to come full circle. This past year has been the most challenging of my life, but somehow I've managed to find my footing again, and there's even some good news to share. After the last update, I followed through with going to the police about what I'd learned from Samantha. It wasn't easy to reopen those wounds, but I knew it was the right thing to do. The police took my statement and launched a deeper investigation into Jake and Emily's activities. I didn't expect much to come of it, especially after everything that had already happened, but to my surprise, they were able to track down some of the items that had been sold off. A few months later, I got a call from the police station asking me to come in. When I arrived, they showed me a box containing some of the items that had been taken during the robbery. Among them were my camera, my watch, and a few other personal items that I thought I'd never see again. Seeing those things brought back a flood of emotions. It was like a piece of my life that had been stolen was finally being returned to me. It didn't undo the damage, but it gave me a sense of closure that I desperately needed. As for Jake and Emily, they both ended up facing legal consequences. Jake, who was already on probation, received additional jail time for the staged robbery and the fight. Emily wasn't as lucky either. She was charged with conspiracy and fraud and ended up serving time as well. I can't say that seeing them punished brought me any joy, but it did bring a sense of justice. They made their choices, and now they have to live with the consequences. On a personal level, this year has been all about healing and rebuilding. Therapy has been a lifesaver, helping me process the betrayal and work through my trust issues. I've also started reconnecting reconnecting with old friends and family, the people who have always had my back. It took some time, but I've learned to open up again, to trust the people who deserve it, and to be more careful with who I let into my life. I've also made some new friends, people who have shown me what real, supportive relationships look like. I even started dating again, though I'm taking things slow and being much more mindful of red flags. It hasn't been easy, but I'm starting to feel like myself again, maybe even a stronger version of myself than before. One of the most unexpected things to come out of all this is how much I've learned about resilience. I never imagined I'd be able to pick up the pieces after everything that happened, but here I am, standing taller than ever. I've come to realize that while we can't control what others do, we can control how we respond. I refuse to let Jake and Emily's betrayal define me, and now I'm living a life that I'm proud of. To everyone who has followed my story and offered support, thank you. Your encouragement helped me through some of the darkest times, and I'm grateful for every kind word. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that even in the worst situations, there's always a way forward. It might not be easy, but it's possible, and that's what I'm holding on to. As I close this chapter of my life, I'm focusing on the future, one that's full of potential, new experiences, and the right kind of people by my side. The road ahead is bright, and I'm ready to walk it with my head held high. Here are some comments in response to the final update. The first person comments, "I'm so happy to hear that things are finally turning around for you. Getting some of your stuff back must have felt like a little bit of justice after everything you went through. It sounds like you've come a long way in your healing process, and I admire your resilience. It's not easy to rebuild after such a massive betrayal, but you've done it with so much strength and grace. Here's to a future full of positive experiences and good people. Thank you for sharing your journey with us." Here's another take from the comments. "Wow, what a journey. I can't imagine how difficult it must have been to face everything you did, but seeing you come out stronger on the other side is truly inspiring. The fact that you got some of your belongings back is a nice little victory in all of this. But more importantly, it's clear you've grown so much and learned how to surround yourself with people who truly care about you. I'm glad to hear you're finding peace and moving forward with your life. You deserve every bit of happiness that comes your way." The last commenter says, "Your story has been one hell of a ride, and I'm so glad to see you found some closure. It's not just about getting your stuff back, although that's a huge win, but also about how much you've grown and learned about yourself through all of this. It takes a lot of courage to keep moving forward after such a betrayal. And it's amazing to see that you've come out of this stronger and wiser. I hope this next chapter of your life is filled with nothing but good vibes and solid relationships. Thanks for sharing your story with us. It's been a reminder that even in the darkest times, there's always hope."